Thank you, Madhulika, for those kind words. But I feel a little nervous because the person that I'm going to introduce is a far more successful man. And in the end, you and all the others will discover that I'm just a candle in front of the sun. Also a boxer. He is a highly qualified person with vast experience and a great orator. If I keep on speaking about his qualifications, his experiences, and his achievements, then in the end, I think Dr. Anil himself will have little time to talk to you. So here is a brief introduction. To begin with, I can say Anil and I share certain similarities. You know, both are from the same school, both are doctors. His and my name begins with the letter A. His name is Anil, and my elder brother's name was Anil too. But that is where the similarity ends. From this point, he just moved on and opened up a gap so big, so much so that I remained a dwarf and he a colossal. But despite his achievements, he is a very modest person. He is a thorough gentleman. He is mild in his mannerism, and his conduct with the patient is exemplary. In fact, if there are young doctors in amongst our boxers, they should learn from Dr. Anil. Can I
Yeah,
continue?
sure, sure.
Okay. Dr. Anil believes in 3 points. I mean, there are 3 points on the principle he has. Number one, my patient is my top priority. Each patient, number two, each patient is unique. And number three, each patient must get the best treatment. Based on these principles, he has built up his career, a very successful career. He has presented papers in various conventions the world over. He believes in imparting and spreading the knowledge of medical science. In fact, last night only, he was invited to an international convention where he presented a paper on COVID. Still on food, he has many other lectures. For example, he spoke on the ways for example, he was invited to lecture in numerous fora, including Jain Center in Los Angeles, Boston, New York, and Seattle. He spoke on ways to change the diet for optimum brain and body function. In fact, he also talked about the importance of vegan diet and its principle. He believes that the right diet can cure all chronic ailments. To deliver 2 lectures at the Jaina Convention in Santa Clara in July 2005. Higher consciousness in marriage for the JNF audience and personality development for school-going children. He was the guest speaker in National Cognitive Behavior Therapy Conference in Indore, October 2007, speaking on Ekantavadi and good communication. Number 6, he has a deep knowledge on mental health and therefore was the guest speaker at the National Annual Conference on Mental Health. Mental health awareness organized by Department of Psychology, University of Indore. He spoke on psychology of success and Jain way of life. Like this, it just simply goes on and on and on. Over to you, Dr. Anil.
Father, for giving me this opportunity to meet you and everybody else. And initially, what started off as the treatment of hypertension of Madhulika has now become a large affair of more than 100 people joining in. So, Madhulika, you are blessed. So, so Madhulika knows about the joke. So this whole idea started off with getting her hypertension treated, and I suggested that why not treat everybody else's hypertension as well. So here we are. So so the thing is, Let me tell you about my whole journey as to how I reached to this stage of development of principles of improving your health. Now, this was me myself in 2005 and 2006. This is me in Chicago with Dr. Khandekar, who was my mentor and coach in cancer. And I was doing all right health wise. I was pretty much okay, average looking, no issues. And then this was the same session. And this was the right hand picture is in 2006, where I went and gave all those lectures in Hollywood. And so I was doing all right. But gradually, what happened was this is 2007 in Chicago. Now, here you can see that I started to get a little bit plumpier and there appeared some swelling on my face. I was a bit worried about it. I consulted a lot of colleagues and we did a run of tests, lot of tests, but nothing came abnormal at all. And we just couldn't find a reason for this swelling. So I just plowed on, and then I think in 2012, uh, this was me. You can see the swelling on my face and the eyelids. It was more in the morning, and in the meanwhile, I suffered a heart attack, and I had a bad coronaries. The angiography was done, angioplasties were done, and all the three vessels were found to be blocked, and they had to put multiple stents into my heart, and then I recovered from that operation. There was a little bit of cholesterol issues and so on. So I did what everybody does and went through my treatments and I recovered. Now this was me, I think this is somewhere in the US in 2014. So I don't look too bad, but compared to previous time, you will see that there is again this kind of swelling on the face, and most probably most people would ascribe this to aging, that is the normal aging phenomena. But I found this to be pretty disturbing, but still we could not find a reason for all this. And meanwhile, I was continuing my recovery from my heart problem, and I was taking aspirin and other drugs, statins and stuff, just like everybody else. So I have always been of a very curious bent of mind. I always try to explore new avenues. If something comes up, I always go and see what it is all about. So I think it was in 2016 that I was on a flight to Abu Dhabi for a conference. And just as I was boarding the flight, I got an email regarding this, the Wild Fit, the Evolution of Fitness. This was a program which was run from Canada by this gentleman, and he was promoting this, that we should join this program. Now this program was promoted by a company by the name of Mind Valley. Maybe you've heard about it. So they said that why don't you join, and we will take you through 12 weeks of diet change. And the basic fundamental behind this was this, that if you were to go and look at the Bushmen living in Africa at the current time, presently, who have no access to civilization, this is how they look. Look at their fitness, look at their muscles, and look at their total non-obese stature. They do not go to gyms, they do not take any health foods, they do not take any supplements, but they are amazing. They don't have diabetes, they don't have heart disease, no issues. So this gentleman, Ben, he went and lived with them, and that is where he started his research, and that is how the program developed about wild fit, like being fit just like as you are in the wild, because the nature has made you to be like this. So he was going to simulate the whole environment for us just like this and achieve the same health benefits just like this. It was a program of 3 months, and in 3 months they were going to do one minor change every week, and for a total of 3 months. Now the promoter of Mind Valley is this guy Vishen. He went through this program, and this was his change in his body in a difference of 9 weeks, without any exercise and without any other thing, just adjusting the diet. So this was pretty amazing to me, and I was very curious about it. And when I reached Abu Dhabi, I decided to join this program. It was not a cheap program, it was pretty expensive, but they gave us this thing that if I'm not satisfied within a month, I can always apply for a refund. So that seemed fair enough. So I joined the program. So we made small changes every week. 1,200 people did it all over the world together. And there was constant coaching via social media and via Zoom calls. And there was support given via Facebook group. So things started to change significantly. Now, I lost all my facial swelling. I lost about 5 kg weight. I had consistent hyperacidity and I used to take acidity medicines for the last 30 years, which completely disappeared. I used to sleep better. I no longer had to take any sleep medicine. My brain fog improved. I used to have a lot of brain fog. Like in the afternoon, I used to feel very sleepy. And when I was visiting hospitals or visiting meetings in the hospitals or doing my training abroad, there was an issue with that. Energy levels improved. And as I said, facial swelling disappeared. So this was a transformation which happened in a period of 3 months. And then gradually that hooked me to this thing about things which are there but we don't know. So why don't I go and study more? So I took it up from there and I did continued my study, and I found newer and newer stuff and newer principles. I tried to employ them and try to experiment with them, and I'm still doing it. So I'm still like doing this now. So what has been the difference? This is the difference. This is what I looked last year. This is February on 2020. And then this is another picture from last year before the just as the lockdown was kicking in. This is my friend who is a postgraduate medical student, and so you can contrast this appearance. So this is me in 2016, and this is me now. This was last year in the summer. So obviously something works. So let us see what works and what does not work. And so before we start this, let me take a quiz and you can give your answers to yourself about these questions. Do you need to exercise to lose weight? What do you think? Yes or no? Is high cholesterol bad for you? Yes or no? Is a low fat diet really healthy? Yes or no? Is whole grain better than polished grains? Yes or no? Now, should we eat everything in moderation? मतलब हिंदी में कहते हैं थोड़ा थोड़ा सब खाना चाहिए. Do you believe in this? Yes or no? So keep your answers to yourself, and then let us go through the next 45 minutes and see where you land up with these questions and answers. Now let me give you a warning. When you are going to listen to this stuff, this stuff is going to shock you. This stuff is going to surprise you. This stuff is going to challenge your beliefs. So I make a request to you. Keep your beliefs to one side, just as I did when I started all this stuff. So keep your beliefs to one side and go outside your comfort zone and then listen to the new knowledge, test the new knowledge and see what happens. Is that really right? That is the path to growth in any field of life. So now, if you go back to your great grandfathers, and you would see, if you talk about the great grandfathers, you would know that they used to slowly grow old, and at a ripe old age, they used to die. They used to leave us. And when we talked about ourselves, hey, how did your great grandfather die? And you say, oh, they died of old age. उनकी उम्र हो गई थी इसलिए वो चले गए. Right? You remember? Certainly, that was the case. But now what happens? Now, suppose your father or somebody elder to you leaves you. What do they leave? They die of heart disease, they die of cancer, they die of chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes, and kidney. What has changed? Something has changed. So how would it be to die young at a ripe old age? That's what the great grandfather used to do. They were fit till the right end, till the very end. So can we not keep that as an objective and go forward? With that, let us come to the first section of my talk, which is on wheat. Now, 10,000 years back, before 10,000 years, man did not know about wheat. Remember, man as Homo sapiens has almost a history of 1 million years. Now, before 10,000 years, which is like about 2% of our history, we never used to know about wheat. But then hunters and gatherers noticed this grass and they found that this grain which animals eat. And then what they did is they picked it up and then they dried it and then they stored it, they ground it up, and lo and behold, they now had a food which they could store for use in winters, which they could use in times when there was no food around. So that was something which was new. But the wheat at that time was known as einkorn wheat, which had 14 chromosomes. But then, over a period of centuries and centuries, wheat also mutated, wheat mated with other plants, and then we had in the Middle Ages emmer wheat, which was 28 chromosomes. And then finally, further, there was mutations in the wheat and polymorphisms, and the spelt wheat or the tritium land races developed later on, about a few hundred years back, and that is of 42 chromosomes, right? So that is the modern wheat which we had, and this was the wheat which our great grandfathers were eating, the tritium land races. That was till the 1960s. And in the 1960s, there was a big drought all over the world, famine. And this famine was horrible, killed a lot of people. And there was always something, some or the other people saying, do something about it, do something about it. And finally, this gentleman by the name of Norman Borlaug came along, and this is his photograph in Mexico. And he was a scientist, and he started experimenting with the wheat. And he put wheat through various mutations and various other chemical changes. And with that, he was able to change the wheat crop completely. So the wheat, which was shoulder height, was then made much short, and he actually mated wheat with different grasses and different strains, thousands of genetic experiments, and he succeeded. And because he succeeded, he was honored by Life magazine, and he was given the Nobel Peace Prize. And what did he succeed in? He succeeded that the wheat is now this big. It is not shoulder height. And this is Norman Borlaug on Life magazine. And he found and he was able to make the wheat 15 times more productive per acre. In doing that, he ushered in the Green Revolution. And famine was completely ended. Everybody had enough wheat to eat and everybody was happy, including the farmers. But the point here is that all this wheat was no longer the original wheat. This was completely, totally Frankenstein, genetically modified wheat. And this is the wheat that we are now eating all over the world. So what is the problem now? The wheat that we eat now is an opiate. Opiate means, heroin. So this is cheaper than heroin, but it stimulates the same centers in the brain that opium stimulates. Therefore, it is addictive. Therefore, you want to eat more of it. So actually, it is so bad that Mark Dhamma, I am sure a lot of you have heard about him, and I can bet Himakar can knows hundreds of things about him. So he said, I am seriously shocked to hear that a large amount of entrepreneurs still eat this stuff. This silent brain killer could be sapping your energy, making you tired, suffer from ADHD-like symptoms, depress you, and destroy your focus. So it is so bad for your brain. Not only is it bad for your brain, let us see what this does when you eat it and it goes into your intestine. So the gluten in the wheat, which is right there, can uh, trigger the release of a substance known as zonulin. And the zonulin, what does it do? It breaks apart the joints between the cells in your intestine. So there is a break in the intestine, and the intestine becomes leaky and inflamed. This break in the intestine then allows the things which are not supposed to enter your body or your system or your blood enter, like toxins, like bacteria, like viruses. All kinds of microorganisms can go through this leaky gut and enter your bloodstream. Once in the bloodstream, all this foreign substance is there. Your immune system says, hey, what is happening here? And the immune system then says, okay, 1 minute. Yeah. So the immune system then says that we need to take care of it. And therefore, there is a hyperactivity of the immune system. This hyperactivity of the immune system causes inflammation. So there is an immune system which is always fighting, always shooting, and it causes autoimmune disease. So it causes, what is the commonest autoimmune disease? The commonest autoimmune disease is thyroid. I bet you that in each and every person, each and every families of each of you, there will be one person who will be having a thyroid problem. It is so common now. Then obviously it causes a lot of other problems like inflammation all over the body. We will be talking about that very shortly. The other thing what happens is the blood sugar metabolism goes haywire. You know, you have a glycemic index. What do you mean by glycemic index? Glycemic index means that how high does your insulin level go up before when you take 100 grams of glucose. So if you see on the left, this is the blood glucose level which goes up to this level on 100 grams of glucose. And so this is the normal glycemic index for glucose. Now, if you eat something and the blood glucose goes higher, then that stuff is higher glycemic index, and if it is lower, then lower. When you take, when the blood glucose goes up, your insulin level also shoots up to bring down the blood glucose. Now, when you have a higher glycemic index food, the blood glucose shoot up is much higher, and therefore the insulin also has to go much higher. And this brings down the glucose very fast, and the glucose level actually drops below normal. And this is when you feel really hungry again, you feel really zapped, you feel low energy, and then you reach for food again. This should not happen. So this is a list of all the foods with their glycemic indexes. Now see here, sucrose, that is the table sugar that you use, has a glycemic index of 59, right? Glucose has 100, sucrose has 59. But look here on the left, wheat has a glycemic index of 51, white bread has a glycemic index of 69, and wholemeal bread has 72. Think about it. That means that if you were to take 2 slices of bread, it will shoot up your glucose more than you took 4 tablespoons or teaspoons of sugar. So wheat has a higher glycemic index than most other foods. So what does that wheat then do to the blood sugar? As the blood sugar is as the wheat gets absorbed, and wheat gets absorbed very fast, it gets digested very fast because of amylopectin A, which is present in the saliva. So there is a overshoot of blood sugar, and because the blood sugar is there in the system, your body makes insulin, and insulin converts all the blood sugar to, you know what, to fat, and the fat is stored up in your belly. And this is how you put on your belly, by increasing more, by eating more and more wheat. So what has happened to weight over the years? If you look from 1960 onwards, the percentage of people who have been obese in the United States has shot up. The percentage of overweight people have shot up. So as the wheat was changed, so did the population started to change into becoming more fat and fatter. Not all, that is not all. Wheat germ agglutinin is another thing which is present in high levels in this mutated wheat. Now, wheat germ agglutinin is a lectin. Now, this lectin is extremely dangerous because it looks like insulin. It has a structure which is similar to insulin. So it attaches to fat cells and asking fat cells to convert more sugar to fat all the time. It attaches to your muscle cells just like insulin. So your muscles cannot get glucose. So the muscles waste. It attaches to nerve cells so that no glucose can enter the brain and the nervous system, and therefore you feel the brain fog and weak. So this is what there is happens when you take wheat which contains wheat germ agglutinin. And look at what it does to the intestine. This is the intestine of a mouse, and you can see that on the top A is the normal intestine with the villi, and as the mouse is given wheat, the villi starts to degenerate, and finally all the villi are destroyed, and there is a bare intestine, and this intestine can no longer absorb food, and therefore there is a malnutrition. So wheat is responsible for a number of diseases. We have all this list here. I'll not go into the details, but it can cause anything from dermatitis to brain problems to neuropathy to iron deficiency anemia to diabetes and all the other. This is just a short list. But the point here is that if you remove wheat, what happens? Now, this is tested, tried, and verified. This happened to us during the program. That when you remove wheat, there is a consistent loss of body weight. Even though you are eating the same number of calories, you will lose body weight within a few weeks' time consistently if you remove wheat from your system, from the diet. So what happened? When we eliminated wheat, we had weight loss, we had reduced appetite, we had blood sugar reductions. Those people who are diabetic in the program had a control of their diabetes. Joint pain went away, inflammation obviously reduced, blood pressure normalized, and then there was a reduction in all the bad cholesterol and stuff. There was increased energy, improved sleep, less acid reflux, and irritable bowel syndrome was also taken care of. So wheat should be removed completely from your diet. Now, I will point you to certain more resources which I think are important. Now, there are three books which are extremely important because they have been very well written by very highly qualified doctors in America. Now, this is a cardiologist by the name of William Davis, and he wrote this book, Wheat Belly, quite a number of years ago. And there are a lot of YouTube videos with this guy. You should read this book. The second is The Plant Paradox by Stephen Gundry. This guy is a cardiac surgeon, and he discovered all these problems with diet, and now he has left surgery and he is curing all his disease, all his cardiac patients with diet modification alone. This is an amazing book. You can find it on the net. You can find ebook on the net, and you should go through it. The third book is written by David Perlmutter. He is a neurologist. He's a pediatric neurologist in the US, and he talks about how wheat and other grains affect your brain, and they cause dementia and they cause a lot of other problems. This is an amazing book. Once you pick it up, you won't be able to keep it down. So you should get this book also. So with that, let me tell you something. Many of you, or somebody of you, or maybe somebody in your family must be suffering from migraine. Well, they're really intractable headaches, and no matter what you do, sometimes it doesn't work. If you look at the CT scan shows up this bright white matter, prominent white matter on the CT scan. Now, it has been very well now demonstrated that this is also a side effect of gluten, and if you take out gluten or wheat from this person's diet, the migraine just goes away. No medication required. I have tried this with patients and it works amazingly. So with that, let us now, obviously you would have questions. So let us have the questions at the end. If this was a real face-to-face talk, I would have stopped here and discussed with you regarding wheat. But for the point of view of time, I'd like to finish off these things. You note down your questions and we will discuss them at the end. Now we come to sugar. What do you think? Uh, think about it. How much of sugar does a average Indian eat in a year? 5 kgs, 10 kgs, 15 kgs, 50 kgs. How much do you think? Think of a figure amongst yourself. Actually, I can't see the chat window here. Otherwise, I would have seen the chat. And but do post it on the chat. So, so you would be extremely surprised to know that an average Indian eats about 80 kilograms sugar in a year. So, what does sugar does to your body? When you eat the sugar, the insulin spikes up. The liver turns the sugar to fat. Then blood pressure also rises. And then once you eat your sugar, the dopamine levels in the brain surge, and the high insulin causes glucose levels to plummet, and your body gets tired and asks for more sugar to offset this imbalance. So what happens is, once the insulin goes up, it brings down the sugar, and your brain craves more sugar, and therefore you feel tired and you eat more sugar. So this is a circle which goes on and on and on. So this is another book in my library, Gary Taubes. Gary Taubes is an amazing guy. He has written a number of books on diet, and he is an investigative journalist, and he has gone through all the studies in detail, and he has written amazing books. So this is another book which is my recommendation that you should really read. So sugar, the brain, what happens in the brain? The brain requires constant supply of energy. So when you take sugar, there is an insulin spike, and then, as I told you, there was a high blood sugar, and then the blood sugar falls because of the insulin. When the sugar falls because of the insulin, you will end up with brain fog, because the brain looks for, hey, where is my glucose? Where is my glucose? And the glucose has already gone down, and therefore you eat more. So this brain fog again causes blood sugar because of the sugar. So I don't know how many students are there on this talk, because what I'm going to talk to you now about is extremely important for your kids, for the kids who are listening. Do listen very, very carefully. But before I go to the kids, there is another thing I want to tell you. There is something which is known as an advanced glycation end product. What does this mean? This means that when there is blood sugar which is high, it combines with the proteins in your body and produces this AGEs, or advanced glycation end products. Now these advanced glycation end products are no longer useful to the body. They precipitate in various tissues. They are something like this. When your toast is burnt, the burnt part of the toast is of no use. I mean, it doesn't have any value at all. So that is what happens when sugar goes and binds to protein or to fat or any other material in your body, and this produces AGEs. These AGEs are stiff, they are junk, they are of no use, and they deposit in various organs, and they make those organs diseased. You know what happens when you have wrinkles on your face? The wrinkles come up because there are AGEs deposited beneath the skin. This is how they happen. So aging skin has advanced glycation end products beneath the skin which pull it into wrinkles. So the next time, ladies, when you are really thinking about not developing any wrinkles, think about AGEs. We don't want AGEs. So when you are youthful, you are looking less fantastic, and you go and take your ice cream and all the other goodies and all the sugary stuff, you end up with wrinkles all over your appearance. So think about it. So not only the skin, they are deposited everywhere in your body. So what happens is, there is liver failure, there is hypertension, there is inflammation, there is heart disease, diabetes, even cancer has been linked to AGEs. So AGEs should be really taken care of. So there are, if you look on the net or maybe sometime in another meeting, I'll tell you about the number of AGEs in each food that you're eating. And you will find that you will be surprised at some of the values. So that was about AGEs. Then what about dementia? It was found that those people who had diabetes or those people who had a high blood glucose levels had more cognitive declines. 5,000 people were monitored over 10 years. Higher the blood sugar, the fasting the decline in cognition. Not, they were not required to be diabetic. Even a high blood sugar below the diabetic level was associated with decline in cognition. Therefore, Alzheimer's disease actually is now becoming so common that Alzheimer's will triple in incidence by 2050. Every 3 seconds currently, someone in the world develops dementia or Alzheimer's. This is extremely scary, extremely frightening. And this Alzheimer's is now known as type 3 diabetes, and this is because of the sugar. So, say no to sugar. Brain function is absolutely sent haywire because of sugar. It leads to memory loss, and sugar, as you know, is extremely addictive. It's 8 times more addictive than cocaine. It is extremely difficult to give up. So they did brain scans, spectroscopic scans of the brain, and they found that just as cocaine blunts the dopamine release in the brain. If you see on the on the left, there is this normal brain which has an orange tinge. This is the dopamine release in the brain. But then when you give cocaine, there is no release, and when you give sugar, there is no release. So it is almost like cocaine when it comes to the brain. So when you take a lot of sugar, what happens? There is a brain fog. There is zoning out. There is difficulty engaging in cognition, difficulty in learning. Memory goes haywire. You start to forget names, dates, events. And this is how things happen. And in kids, in children, you have problems with math and difficulty in concentration and ADHD, all kinds of stuff starts to happen. And in fact, it looks as though like uh, there is another slide. No, it's not here. It is as though your brain has just left for the day. So I still remember when my kids were young and they used to study for their exams, they used to have things to eat during the night in their late night studies. And you know what they used to eat? They used to eat potato chips and they used to take sugary drinks like Coke or something else. And now I think that if that used to happen, no wonder they used to not remember what they had read in the night before. So ask your kids to keep off all sugary drinks completely. Now sugar has another issue with it, that the non-alcoholic drinks that can lead you to liver disease. Sugar is not only sugar. Sugar has fructose. Now fructose is a not natural sugar. It is unnatural sugar. It is seen high quantities in unseasonal fruits, in fruit juices, and in all your colas, soft drinks. So fructose cannot be metabolized by insulin. So fructose has to be sent to the liver for metabolism. And because if you take a lot of fructose, the liver is overloaded with fructose and it can lead to liver failure just as though you were drinking alcohol. So should not be taken in large quantities. And if you take fructose in large quantities, this is the way it destroys your body from top to bottom. It will destroy your tooth. So if you have cavities in your tooth, it is likely that you are taking much fructose. You are taking a lot of fruits which are ripened by unnaturally. Alzheimer's, depression, heart disease, hypertension, gout, kidney failure, erectile dysfunction, and fatty liver. You name it, and it is there. So keep away from fructose in high quantities. So to end this matter on sugar, sugar is actually everywhere. If you go on the departmental store and you look at the fine print, you will see sugar everywhere, right from your tomato ketchup to everything else. So it is extremely difficult to eradicate, but you got to work at it. Now think about it. If you owned a race horse, and a race horse is a prized possession, and they are very expensive, you know. So if you have a race horse, You take good care of it, won't you? You won't give the racehorse Coke, would you? So if you would give your racehorse Coke, why are you taking Coke yourself? Think about it. You are the most precious racehorse for you. So just like a car or should have get the right fuel, you also need the right fuel. And let me tell you something about the right kind of stuff that you can eat. Let me tell you something which you can put into practice right away. So this is what we were taught during the program. And so you get this stuff. You get things like celery. This is celery, carrot, lettuce, uh, mint. Then this is your palak, Chinese cabbage, broccoli. Then your cabbage, regular cabbage, avocado, and dhania, and red cabbage, and whatever else you can get. The fresh vegetables you can get. Then for seasoning, you can use all kinds of stuff like turmeric and black pepper, and then sea salt. Then you can use obviously lime, you can use ginger, and so on. Or you can basically mix and match as per your taste. Then what you do is you take all this stuff every day in the morning and you blend it in a blender. You get a high speed or a high powered blender and you put it in and liquefy the whole stuff in a blender with some water or ice. Initially, you may want to sweeten it a bit. If you want to sweeten it a bit, you can use apple in it or you can use a bit of banana in it. And then you got to drink it first thing in the morning. This is a green smoothie and this contains a lot of goodies in it. And this contains all the plant enzymes, all the iron you need, all the calcium you need, and everything else. And I suggest that you drink at least 1.5 to 2 glasses of it in the daytime, apart from your normal meals, and you will be fine. So this is the green smoothie that you can take. And then let me talk about screening. Uh, there are certain blood tests that you can do, like you can right away tomorrow or in the coming days, you test out your fasting blood glucose. You test out your HbA1c levels, which will give an average glucose level of the last 3 months. You test your fasting insulin levels because that is the first thing to go haywire, even before the glucose starts to move. If your fasting insulin is high, then you need to really be very, very careful about it. Then you test out your homocysteine, your C-reactive protein to check for inflammation, vitamin D levels. So we're coming back to the quiz again. So do we need to exercise to lose weight? The right answer is no. You can lose weight with diet modification. I'm not saying calorie restriction. I'm talking about diet modification, eating the right kind of foods. I did not take cholesterol in this section of our talk because there was not much time. We'll take it up later. So this question is this thing. I again did not take milk right now. I don't know whether we have time for milk. Is whole grain better than polished grain? No, yes, whole grain is actually better than polished. No, whole grain is not better than polished grain. Polished grain is better than whole grain because the glycemic index of whole grain is much higher than polished. Besides, whole grain has much higher number of harmful lectins than polished, which we'll discuss sometime later about lectins. Should we eat everything in moderation? क्या हमको सब कुछ थोड़ा थोड़ा खाना चाहिए? My friends, if you eat everything in moderation, you will have health in moderation. You will have disease in moderation. You don't use this word moderation when you talk about earning money, do you? I want to earn money only in moderation. Do you say that to yourself? Those studying, do they target something? I want to earn moderate marks in my life. So, in everything we aim for in life is the highest, why don't we want to aim for the highest in our health standards? So if you eat everything in moderation, you will get health in moderation. This is your choice. So these are my contact details for any questions or any guidance or any directions that you need in the future. You can also join us because I conduct this program, which is the 3 months program, which is based on the Wild Fit program, where we take you through phases of change every week. We have a meeting every week, either in person or through Zoom, and we discuss about things we need to change, why we need to change, and all the other things, including everything. And in these 3 months, we will be progressing through various changes, and you will see definite changes in your health levels, in your energy level, and all the other things. Uh, there will be support through WhatsApp, and obviously a lot of study materials, including videos, books, and articles, will also be shared during this program. But think about it, if you're really serious about something, yes, I want to do it, then this is an opportunity which I didn't have when I started off. So think about it. कई लोग अभी हमारे लेवल पे कहते हैं हमने तो अपनी जिंदगी के इतने साल जी लिया अब क्या करेंगे. So it's not right. Every day is the first day of the rest of your life. Fauja Singh started running seriously at the age of 89 years, and he did 26.2 miles marathon at the age of 93 in almost 7 hours. So think about it. So today is the chance to change yourself for the better. My request to you is just make a decision and do it. So thank you for a very patient hearing, and let us have some discussion now. So you can replace wheat with other things which are not genetically modified. So what we found is, living in India, we are like slightly more better off. You can replace wheat with jawar. You can replace wheat with bajra. You can replace wheat with obviously rice. Rice is not that genetically modified, but rice also has a high glycemic index. So beware, don't start eating it in large quantities. But we have changed over to jawar in our home for the last 5 years, and jawar is a good substitute. And it makes up, we make everything with jawar, right from rotis to kachoris to samosas to whatever you want to do with it.
So, in short, all good things are illegal, immoral, and fattening, as they say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ajay.
I'm a bit confused about the fruits. They say fresh fruit juices are good. So according to you, it contains a lot of fructose.
Yes.
They are bad, is it?
Yes.
Or should I put it this way? If you are taking seasoned fruits or fruit juices, it is all right. But
See,
don't take.
what happens is when you make a juice out of a fruit, you remove the fiber out of the fruit, which is going to help you. So I totally recommend not making any juice at all for any fruit. Take fruit in its natural form, and that is going to be more beneficial. And keep away from fruits again which are not in season.
Thank you.
Pinky. Pinky is muted.
Anybody
Pinky
who wants
wants
to,
to ask something.
yeah,
Pinky,
please,
Pinky.
unmute yourself and ask. Don't wait for somebody
Yeah,
to.
hello. May I ask? I have a question. I'm
Yes.
Oh,
Chandrima. Yeah. So I am diabetic. Anil Bhaiya, you are so much my senior, so I can call you Bhaiya. So I am
Oh.
diabetic और आम का season है. So naturally, there is a craving for mango. So मेरा HB1C is generally below 7. So what do you suggest? थोड़ा बहुत खा
Well,
सकते हैं.
I think you should be more worried about your diabetes rather than your mangoes. So you can take some mango in moderation, like very small amount of mango, but not more. But आम के season की बात क्या करोगे? You will go and eat papaya, which is going to kill your diabetes. It's going to worsen your diabetes like anything. So keep away from all these fruits which have high sugar content, and address your diabetes very aggressively, Chandrima, by changing your food habits, by changing the things you eat, and you will see that once you get rid of the diabetes, then you can eat all the fruit that you want. So, your focus should be right there on your diabetes. 7 is too bad. 7, you have to bring down 7
Yeah,
HbA1c.
diabetes is bad, but I don't think I'll totally get rid of diabetes. Since the last 6 years, I am taking medicines,
So
and
this is the new beginning. You got to change. You got to work on yourself, and I can assure you that your diabetes is going to be much, much better. You will be
can I
off
get
the drugs.
can I get in
Yes.
touch with you personally also when I need your plan?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what I said in the end. You can get in touch with me personally. My number is right there in the chat, and or
Yeah,
anybody else can give it to you, and we'll be very happy to help you out.
thank
Anil, first, I was trying to, in the beginning of the meeting, I was trying to say where you are, but I saw Trishula Singhvi, so I said, this is not Anil, so I didn't address you. Okay. So, Anil, your talk has been very confusing. You said not to eat wheat, means it's not good for us. Then what do we eat? People say don't eat rice. You're saying don't eat wheat. What do we eat?
Okay, so what I did is from the whole gang, I have picked up the most villainous piece and said, don't do it. Okay, the other pieces are also bad. I'm not saying they are not bad, but this is going to kill you. मतलब ये क्या गब्बर है, अकेला ही आपको मार देगा, तो उसको हटाना है. So you got to take out your wheat. You can substitute it with jawar. You can substitute it with bajra. And you can continue your own chapatis and whatever you want to do with these things, right? Not a problem.
But all our life, we were told rice is bad. Rice is bad. Wheat is okay. That's why develop a choice liking to wheat, and I've been eating chapati, thinking I'm doing very good. And now you have confused me.
So that is the thing. That is what I was also shocked to hear. And if you were to go through all those 3 books, apart from, even if you don't go through the Wild Fit program, you will be amazed to see that the amount of damage wheat is doing to your system. So if you have been told your lies all your life, that does not make the lie a truth. The lie is a lie. So we got to expose this lie right now. So the simple thing to do is give up wheat for a month and see for yourself, and you will find amazing changes, and you can come back on the group and share with us that what you did. So the thing is ki you must take out wheat if you don't take out anything else. And then the next bad guy is the sugar. So these are the 2 ones which I did consider here. There are a lot of more baddies out there which we need to weed out and this thing. But if you can do something, start with these 2. You can take rice in small quantities, not a problem. And I used to do that. I have now given up rice also, but obviously, but that's fine.
Okay, between rice and wheat, which is better?
Rice is better. Anyway.
Rice is better.
Yes.
My goodness. Total change of
Pinky, he had already given a statutory warning, you know.
Rice better.
Rice is better.
Rice is better.
Yeah, that
Even for diabetics. Even for diabetics.
Oh.
So goodbye to sarson da saag and makki di roti. Huh?
My
No,
goodness. And
he's not telling us to put a total goodbye, but I think everything thoda thoda.
नहीं,
We
moderation
need a balance. We have to have a balance.
You'll get
Good evening.
moderation.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir. I have a question on like intermediate fasting. How efficient is it for your health? Like there is a different opinion. Some say it is not at all good for your overall health and well-being. Can you put some light?
Okay. Intermittent fasting has now come on to the fore with a lot of studies being done on it. And intermittent fasting is a way to let the body rejuvenate. It's a way to let the body repair itself. Because what happens is when you're continuously eating, your body is metabolizing whatever you're eating. And so the body's machinery of metabolism is working all the time, all the time, all the time. So mitochondria are continuously burning your fuel. So they don't get any time to rest. So intermittent fasting will give that machinery time to rest. Secondly, what intermittent fasting does is it triggers something which is known as autophagy. Autophagy is a manner in which the body gets rid of dead cells, it gets rid of weak cells and rejuvenates new cells and makes new cells and makes new molecules, and especially in the intestine. So once you do an intermittent fast, your body rejuvenates from the inside out. And because the machinery gets time to rest, it tends to cool down. Think about it. If you were to run a car on first gear at high revolutions for kilometers and kilometers, how long is the car going to last? It's not going to run very far. It's going to burn out. It's going to wear out. However, if you were to run on a high gear with low revolution and then give the car rest in between, let it cool down and then again start, the car is going to go very fast. Same is your body. Your body has to give, the machinery has to be rested. And therefore, if you are not going to burn your candle at both ends, so to speak, you will live longer. So intermittent fasting is going to 100% increase your lifespan, is going to increase your well-being and increase your energy levels.
One more thing, sir. Like, is it advisable for a person who has had some gastric issues?
Absolutely, absolutely must. For any intestinal or stomach issue, intermittent fasting is going to work wonders.
It's not going to like aggravate the like
No,
gas
no,
and
no.
other problems.
Certainly not.
It's quite different from what we had known till date. Like you should be keep on eating after every 2-3 hours to
No.
stay fit and all.
Yeah, exactly. That's another question I should have put in this thing as a myth. That should we take frequent small meals? No. Capital N-O. No. You must take meals, and the interval between the meals should be large as possible.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Anil, there are a few questions in the chat.
Oh yeah, let me see.
Is maize better than wheat? Can we use
Yes.
jaggery in place of sugar? And someone else has sent me a question that I want to read out also. About quinoa and lactose-free milk. Are they good substitutes for milk?
Okay. Maize, what do you mean by maize? Maize is corn?
Yeah.
Corn, okay. So if Gabbar had a twin brother, wheat would have a brother as corn. So corn is as bad as wheat, because corn has, what do they use corn for? The corn is used as feed for the horses and feed for the cattle. And therefore what they did is, once they knew how to mess with wheat, they messed with corn 10 times. So the American corn that you get is absolutely poison. So corn should also be completely off your menu, and you cannot touch corn at all. Same problem as wheat. Jaggery in place of sugar is better. It is better than sugar, but then it is still sweet, and it still has is a carbohydrate. So it is a complex sugar. So definitely the glycemic index of jaggery is much less than sugar. So if you have to use something, yes, use jaggery and don't go for sugar. And the third something was about lactose-free milk. I just don't know what lactose-free milk is actually. You have to explain it to me. How can you take out lactose from milk? Because milk has lactose. It is some kind of artificial milk, then it is something else. So I think there are no more questions, Himakar.
No, I think people will have a lot of sleepless nights because they'll be thinking what to eat. The whole joy of living is lost if we can't have.
I thought they'll be having nightmares rather than sleepless nights. Especially Pinky is going to have a lot of nightmares today.
I'm totally confused. I'm totally.
Pinky, you'll turn a South Indian. You'll eat mounds of rice now.
I thought I was doing a good thing by reducing my rice and increasing the wheat. Now I came to know I did harm. I did wrong.
It's been very informative because
Yes.
we need to observe caution. It's not that when we get admitted to a hospital, the doctor should advise us. We should practice moderation, and
Operation nahi.
I think it comes with time. But I think this is meant only for people who are 50 plus, because I think till the age of 50, the taste buds, dil mange more. Your taste buds keep craving for all the good things of life.
I think
but
after 50, they more ask for.
Actually, let me clarify that, because when in the program, in the 3-month program, we go through this. We teach you how to retrain your taste buds. We teach you about psychology. You teach you about cravings. So that is all being covered in that, and that is what we also went through when we did the program. So
What about having almonds and akroat, kishmish?
Akroat.
Like do akroat, do
Yes.
almonds. I mean, these
Yeah,
are
that's
generally
fine. They are
that's
very
fine.
good. They are very good actually. So your taste buds are something which can be trained. So for example, people say that you have a sweet tooth. Why? Because your taste bud like the sweet stuff, and you just can't keep away from sweet. But and I also used to eat a lot of sweet before. And but once you did the program, and 1,200 people suddenly decide that okay, from Monday we are not going to eat sweet. Okay, so that is some kind of a support with you, that okay, 1,200 people can do it, why can't I do it? So you do it, and then once you do it, you find that your taste buds no longer crave the sweet after 10 days, 15 days. You stop craving it completely. And then once you start to like all the veggies, your taste buds want the veggies. I used to take very little veggies before, and now I take the maximum number of veggies in my house. So it is just a matter of retraining yourself. And the taste buds are nothing but sense organs, nothing and nothing more than that.
yeah, we'll be throwing the halwais out of business.
They should be anyway thrown out of business, or they should have tobacco kind of statutory warnings outside halwais. Yeah.
Of BOXA,
Yeah.
Bokaro Javerian Association,
Hmm.
I'll propose the vote of thanks. I'll thank, first of all, I'll thank Dr. Anil for such a informative and very amazing session. And he cleared many of our myths about what we should eat and what is good for our health. I'll like to thank our principal, Father James, for taking the initiative and doing this, making this possible for us. I'll like to thank our President Madhulika Di and all the seniors, Himakar Bhaiya, Ajay Bhaiya, Pinky Didi, and everyone else. And I'll also like to thank all the Boxans who took out time, and they are here, present here for this session. And thank you.